As you said, it's getting so much harder to get attention.
It's really hard.
But what you have to do is give attention.
Thanks for joining the Sales Acceleration Show. Today we have Gerry McGovern. We'll be talking about anti-marketing and how anti-marketing can accelerate your sales and actually bring you more revenue. Thanks for joining the show.
Thank you, Mark.
Could you introduce very quickly for our viewers who you are, what you do?
Okay, my name's Gerry McGovern. I've been involved in the web since 1994, published 7 books, travel all over the world. My core focus is really on the current customer experience. That's what I've been focusing on for the last 10 or 15 years. How do you really deliver a great experience to your current customers?
Perfect. So let's jump to this whole anti-marketing concept, because I love the concept, but what does it mean?
Well, what it means is that we don't trust anymore. We don't trust experts, we don't trust messages, we don't trust politicians, we don't trust organizations when they tell us this is great, this is easy. Messaging is in a huge decline. There's a huge credibility gap. What we do trust is people like ourselves who have used the products. If let's say you're thinking of visiting Dublin, you've never been there before, and you have 2 friends. One John has been to Dublin, and Mary has not been to Dublin. Who are you going to talk to? You're going to talk to John. You're going to talk to the person who has used the thing. So marketing now needs to exist within the use of the service or the product, rather than be a statement about the service or the product.
So you would create ambassadors, actually, ambassadors that would tell about your product.
Yes, but you don't create them by hiring them or bringing them on exams.
Of course.
You can only create them if they like the product, if they like the service, if they find it easy. And so there's a shift much more to the trust is use.
Yeah.
You know, we only trust what we can use or what people like us have used. That's where we're making our judgment calls.
Yeah.
And people like us are current customers who have used, because you got to be a current customer to have used the things.
True. So if you look at the typical flow, you would have marketing, sales, and then you would have actually customer success. And you're saying customer success should rise and should really be put in front.
There are no funnels now. It's a network. It's a much more interconnected world.
Yeah.
Wherever I see success, it's multi-collaborative. It's organizational units, user experience, customer experience, content writing, marketing, IT, working together to help say, what's the best possible customer experience? How do we really? One bank we dealt with in Norway, they had all these lovely images, beautiful images on their homepage and statements about retirement, etc. But people couldn't log in.
Yeah.
Right. They couldn't because they called it NetBank, because the marketer says, "Oh, we got to be different and we got to come up."
Yeah.
And the current customers were really annoyed. So they did something radical. They stripped everything off the homepage, right? And only put the login. You go to all you can do is log in, right? You know what happened? They had a 500% increase in product inquiries. Because you help people do what they've come to the website to do, they're more likely to buy other stuff. They're more likely to do other stuff with you. You actually support what they want to do rather than dictating them on a journey where you want to send them.
Isn't it also because people are put in silos? You have a marketing silo, sales silo, whatever silo. So that's no longer working. You're saying, put it together.
Traditional organizational structures are a recipe for the destruction of traditional organizations.
But they're paid and measured to do that, actually.
And they're paid and measured to destroy the future of the organization. So some of the senior management are actually going to get this, and others of them are going to say, well, I'll retire before the company goes up in flames. I don't really care. But it's happening. The old models of organization are not working anymore. Maybe in a limited number of markets they're working, but generally the whole world has changed, and yet we still have organizational structures from the 1870s.
I agree.
Wake up.
Do you have a pragmatic example or an advice how to do that? Because I can imagine if I have a company, let's say a mid-sized company, 200 people, I have some size. How would I do this? Because it's good to hear it, but how would I do it?
Well, you got to change the management model. So most management models manage the inside of the organization. So they manage what the organization is doing, and they measure success. So I call them the metrics of failure in traditional organizations. what you need to do is create a model where you're managing the customer experience. You're managing what they want to do. So instead of having people responsible for usability or marketing or whatever, you've people responsible for helping customers transfer money or open an account.
And that's what you would measure, actually.
You shift the metric to what the customer is doing and measure their success. Typically, basic success, can they do it? But the real, what Amazon focuses on is time.
Yeah.
You see,
how much time do they?
Relentless. Amazon is relentless on delivery.
Yeah.
So they've had a strategy for the last 10 or 15 years. How do we get delivery? So now they've delivery in the US down to an hour. How can you compete with that? And the traditional companies were saying, what the hell is Amazon doing? Investing in all these warehouses. It's a stupid strategy.
The drones, everybody's
all
thinking,
the drones,
it's technology.
but it's all driven with an obsession with the customer and the customer's experience. So you got to manage the components of the customer's experience rather than manage the structures of the internal organization.
I can imagine, while you're saying that, and if people believe it, I can imagine the first reflex of a lot of companies would be, I need to buy a tool that does that for me, that creates a product. You see a lot of these guys here, we're in Web Tomorrow, where you see a lot of their UX experience, so that's not going to fly.
Tools are really bullshit.
Yeah.
You need the tools, but it's the culture.
It's the culture.
I mean, if you're in the insurance industry, what should you stop doing? Stop screwing your customers.
Give them better margin.
Stop exploiting current customers. In many organizations, the longer you stay with the company, the worse they treat you.
I agree.
What's the result of that?
You go away.
Switching in the US is at $1.6 trillion a year.
Telco has exactly the same. They just switch.
Yeah,
doesn't matter. They're no longer loyal. They don't care.
Well, because the inertia is gone. The barriers to exit are gone.
Yeah.
It was so much more hassle. But what the web frees up the customer. They can talk to people like them. They can go to comparison websites. So the web gives much more power to customers than it gives to organizations.
That's the whole paradigm shift.
So the current customer now knows they're being screwed.
So very pragmatic as a marketeer, or an anti-marketeer, if I can call it. What about, because I get so many questions around this whole social media.
Yeah.
Should I do it? What should I do? So it would be almost let your customers talk about you.
Well, see, what is social media? Social media is customers talking to customers. It's not customers talking to brands.
Exactly. No.
It's people saying, was that a good holiday? Is that a great camera? You're looking for people like you who do nature photography or conference photography or whatever, and you're wanting, is the Canon a great? How did you find it? That's social media.
Exactly.
So unless you've got a good product, unless you're giving them a good experience, they're not going to tell the story. In fact, they're going to tell the opposite story of had a crappy experience. So social media is not me and my brands, it's me and my peers. So you're a guest at best in the social media space. Don't think you're going to be dictating the social media space. The customer has taken over in social media and they like it. They like the control that they have. You're at best invited into their space.
And if they feel you're trying to control, they'll push you back out.
Well, what you've got to be doing is constantly monitoring and saying, and then going back, we need far more customer ambassadors, marketing people and communicators have a capacity to be ambassadors, because they have basic skill sets. It's just that their focuses are so relentlessly on potential customers. Now, if you're a startup, you're in a different challenge, right? But most companies are
nobody knows you. That's the big
Nobody
problem.
Nobody
knows you.
But Slack was a startup. Google was a startup. Facebook was a startup. I mean, did they use traditional marketing techniques?
No, none of them.
They didn't. You grow through use. The thing that you have must be so brilliantly simple. It must be at 5 seconds faster than everybody else. It must, get you there that bit quicker. It must be that bit more reliable. It really needs to have something, and a lot of it is the interface today. It's not necessarily.
You were the first. It's
not necessarily the technology behind it.
I agree.
It's the simplicity of, I'll give it 7 seconds. Do I understand this interface? If I don't understand the interface, I'm gone.
Yeah. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Well, they care. they only care about their time. If you don't engage, if it doesn't seem immediately simple, immediately beneficial, bang, I'm on to the next
I'm
thing.
the same with websites. All of these websites, they all look the same, and I'm like saying it's too complicated, it's too hyped up.
But when you look at all of these websites, what's their structure? Everything about them is
Front picture,
promises to
text.
potential customers.
Promise.
You look at
Sure.
the way they're laid out. They're all about when you become a customer of us.
Yeah.
And what about the current customer? A tiny sliver of navigation across.
So
the
you should
top.
actually talk from the customer,
If you want to show the customer you care, you have to care.
push them in front.
You have to care. You have to really make it easier for them.
It's a great point, guys. You have to change your website now into your customers because you have them. And that's
Well,
the problem. They have
exactly.
good customers, but they're just not talking about
And
it.
how much are you focusing on? How much are you?
Yeah. Or it's too hyped. They're saying like, it's fantastic. No, people don't say that. I don't believe that.
I work with companies,
Yeah.
right, where it's extremely difficult to renew your contract.
Yeah. It's,
Isn't that insane?
or almost impossible to kill it. That's for me
Oh,
something's
well,
wrong.
that's the other shitty.
That's
stuff.
really like,
But-
guys, seriously.
But how about the people who want to renew?
Yeah.
The process. I've worked with one company recently, and we tested a whole bunch of customers, and they could figure, the task was to create a 3-year renewal.
Yeah.
They could figure out how to do a one-way renewal, but they
never
couldn't.
3 year.
I want to give you €300. No,
Yeah.
sorry, we
No.
can only have €100 for it.
Our policies do not dictate.
you
Or
know-
commission structures. No, I can't do that. Yeah.
No, well, basically what had happened is nobody cared. It was the renewal structure, nobody was taking responsibility for it.
Yeah.
They had launched a crappy renewal structure, they never continuously improved it, and nobody had any responsibility for it.
It's a pity.
And you're
Yeah.
losing
I
money.
think everybody has these things where you think,
Yeah.
we never thought about it.
It's a change of mindset.
So if you have like one advice now, and you have a company, what would you do? What would you say? Focus there and go there.
Well,
This is the
it's
thing you need to do.
Current customer obsession. That's Jeff Bezos. That's if you talk
only
to
thing
Jeff
you care
Bezos.
about.
Obsessed with the experience of the current customer and everything. Not silly graphics. Or graphics are important, of course, but in everything. Are they being treated fairly?
Yeah.
If they're loyal to you, do they get genuine, return for their
Yeah.
loyalty? Are you looking after them? Are you really looking after your current customers? Because if you look after them, they'll look after you.
Perfect. With that, thanks a lot for joining.
Okay.
Gerry. This was unbelievable, guys. Think about your customers and obsess about them. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Thank you.